Kamen Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid episode 33? I think it's 33. I'm like 67% sure it's 33. But anyway, this was a pretty significant-ish episode. It was pretty good is what I'm trying to say. Basically, we're getting a little bit more of Chronos in this episode, which I have to say, I really do like Chronos. I feel like for me, I'll probably need to get heat for this again because there's like a cult around like Ex-Aid and Dan that you just can't get through. But I think Chronos is like the villain that I always wanted Dan to be. Now, I could end up changing my mind later. I'm curious to see how much they flesh him out, how much more we learn about exactly what his motivations are. We sort of know what his goals appears to be, but we don't really know the motivations behind it. We may never get that. There's a chance we could get it and I'll think it's just as stupid as Dan's. But at the moment, I think he's just like what I wanted Dan to be, because as I mentioned at the beginning, Dan had the wool pulled over everyone's eyes. He could have been this master villain, and then they turned him into a joke, except it's not a funny joke to me. And there's even some interesting stuff there with him being mentally unstable, but if they basically, he's like a good example of toku humor, when there's a time and a place for it, and if you're doing it all the time, then you can't be taken seriously when you want to be taken seriously. You gotta balance it and not make the entire show the punchline, except the punchline isn't funny. But my point is that like, Chronos is sort of what I thought Dan was gonna be at the beginning, which was just more of this badass, had more of a presence to him. He really isn't going on any insane monologuing. He's not chewing scenery with his camp acting. Because right now it's basically like, it's very calculated and business related, where he sees Kamen Rider Chronicle as this product and he wants the game to go forward and he wants it to go worldwide, and he has the way of like balancing it so basically not too many people get deleted, which is more disturbing if they actually are deleted and we end up not doing this whole everyone's been alive this whole time crap. That's just kind of a lot more, I don't want to say chilling, but it's just a lot more of what I thought was going to be, and I think it's a good villain for the series at the moment. And he has definitely an imposing presence, and the idea that he's basically using what was to be like basically a final power-up, what it seems like, for the players to achieve, which is kind of a really cool idea based on like video games of like I think Dan said, like, it was never meant to be beaten. It's basically like your final trophy. It's like if you finish the game on hard, or if you get all the trophies, or just finish the game and you get this all-powerful armor, it wasn't really meant to defeat anything more powerful than it. It wasn't meant to be defeated by anything more powerful than itself. But yeah, so that's just really cool. I just like everything surrounding it right now. Like I said, I'm being cautious because I liked Dan at the beginning and they threw it away kind of. But that being said, Dan didn't annoy me quite as much in this episode. I actually kind of liked that he and Emu were on the same wavelength with their plan. They basically pulled a classic Goku, Raditz, Piccolo mess around on him, and they were gonna they used Dan's ability to move around by hiding himself in the Buggle Driver during Clock Up, basically. So that they could hold him down so that Emu could reprogram him. And then it was Brave that betrayed them. It's really funny because I saw some random tweet that said like, oh man, that backstabbing bastard, and it would just hashtag with Ex-Aid. And I thought, oh, Dan's probably gonna do something because you know how it is. But it was actually Brave who's being pretty much manipulated by, I almost said Dan, by Chronos. And I think it has to do with his fiance, because they had like a meeting about it, but to be honest, I stopped paying attention there for a couple minutes. I was watching something else on TV, and I didn't go back and rewind. But that's definitely an interesting twist, since he has more of an emotional stake in it than anybody else, and in terms of like a specific personal stake, because Emu's like, the patient, and then Taiga's just like, you know, Taiga. But he's got like a very personal, like, specific person he wants to save out of this. Oh, it's funny though, because like before he betrayed him, they brought up a line which was used a little while back of like, I think it was around the time when Dan was revived or something like that, where they talked about the possibility of like people from Kamen Rider Chronicle just getting continues, and they're like, oh, as a doctor I can't approve that. And I was like, as a doctor you can't approve of bringing dead people back to life. It's just, it seems stupid. Like, I get that it's kind of gone about in a disturbing way and you're questioning whether they're human, I guess, but at the same time, at the core concept, it seems weird for having doctors being against bringing people back to life that were unjustly killed. Like, I guess I get some apprehension about it, but I think it would be better served if it was presented more apprehensively than a straight out, oh, that's wrong. That'd be like saying, instead of, you know, giving someone CPR, being like, well, this is unnatural. Doctors don't bring people back to life when they need CPR. Like, that's the way it seems to me. It seems like an odd stance, especially since they insist on calling everything an operation and acting like a doctor somehow qualifies you to fight in these suits. Like, honestly, anybody could do it. It really, at this point, it has nothing to do with being a doctor, other than them having a virus. But seriously, like, their surgical skills, like, have no, you know, value in the fighting field, and it just is kind of stupid to me when they bring that up. But there's something else. Oh yeah, so apparently I talked about this last week. I didn't want this to happen, and then like scans came out, and then the preview for next week's already showing it that Laser is going to be back in some form, and I'm really mixed on that. Like I said, I think bringing him back really takes away from the stakes of his death and everything, and I hate when Rider does that. But that being said, there's definitely some interesting stuff that can be played there. And I kind of hope if he does come back, he just ends up dying again, or it's temporary. Even though, like, at the beginning of the series, Laser was my favorite character. I guess he probably still is, since I don't like anybody else on the show, except for Chronos a little bit. But, it just, like, it just takes away from the stakes. It's like, it undermines the series, I guess, for me. But I think there's some interesting interplay that can happen, given that when he died, Genom was an enemy. A Genemy, nailed it. No, and also he's the one that killed him. So that's probably why he would be persuaded to fight for Chronos, unless it's some sort of control. Like, it could, for all we know, be a like a robot, you know, type deal where it's not even really him. It's just a false AI. It could be him, like, under his control somehow, Chronos' control. So we don't know. But I mean, I think, like, if Chronos uses the fact that, hey, your old friends are working with the guy that killed you, why don't you come help me? I think there's definitely some interesting dynamics there between Laser's motivations and his perspective on not just Dan, who killed him, and, well, killed him, that's just a big thing right there, but then also came back to life after dying himself, and then his supposed friends, which is funny because it does make it all the more interesting, because they basically treated Laser like crap. And then after he died, they're like, oh, we lost our friend Laser. I'm like, shut up. You treated him like crap the whole time. You weren't even his friend. So, like, for the fact at the end that they tried to be buddy-buddy and then he died, and to come back and you'd be thinking, oh, good, I'm alive again. Now I can really be friends with them. And then they're BFF Facebook with the guy that killed you. So there's definitely interesting stuff to be had there. I'll be interested to see how it plays out, but I'm very cautious about it because it's not something I really wanted. But anyway, as for the episode itself, it was pretty solid, pretty good stuff. I'd give it a 7.5. So until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Awesome Rider, signing out.